Good morning. This is Samuel. First off, my apologies. It's been a while since I've recorded and uploaded. I've had a bit going on. In today's video, I want to discuss social currency. You're probably somewhat familiar with this topic, but if you aren't, I'll give my brief explanation of it. Basically, it's the concept of money without a numeric or physical exchange of said value. So if you're transacting money, dollars, right? Those dollars are a representation of value of energy in the economy. Now, I think the way I view it is social currency probably came before a physical medium, back when we lived in small to medium-sized groups, under 200 people roughly. Probably more in the ballpark of like 50, small tribal groups, small agricultural communities, that kind of thing. The typical individual can track around 200 people and can keep the relationship tracked and valued in their head. So for the purposes of this, social currency, it's kind of like the solid exchange. So if you're doing favors for people, or if someone just is really helpful, they'll build up social currency with other individuals that they should be able to draw on in the future. Effectively, your or our relationships with other individuals, you can represent that in something akin to money. I think that's enough of an explanation. Now, I want to go into a slightly more interesting part of this, which I've come to notice. So typically we view this social currency thing from a depository relationship, hard cold cash that you have built up with other people. I believe, though, that there is the case for social currency debt. So I'm going to give two examples on this. The first one is there's that friend who is always just bumming from other people. They'll bum cigarettes if they can, free rides, food, help, and they never provide anything back. They're constantly in social currency debt. You don't really want to help them out that much anymore because they're never helpful back to you or to anyone else, and it gets annoying and it feels stressful and draining. So that's one aspect of social currency debt. And you know this individual is not good for whatever solid they're going to ask from you. Now, on the other hand, you can end up an individual who you may have a relationship built up with them, and you know that they're good for it. If they're making a larger ask than they have the quote-unquote cash built up with you for, you know they're good for it, and you know that they'll repay you in some way, in some gesture in the future. Additionally, I think that we evaluate strangers and we give them subconsciously a credit score, so to speak, for the social currency. So if you meet a new individual and they seem well put together, they seem very likable and friendly and even slightly helpful, they don't actually have any social currency built up with you yet. But even subconsciously, maybe consciously for some people, I do this consciously, you'll evaluate them and you'll think, this person is good for this kind of an ask. Like, this person is solid, they seem trustworthy, and you're willing to go out a little bit on a limb for them because they seem to have a good social currency credit score. I think different factors that can affect this, and it'll vary by each individual. Dress, mannerisms, how polite are they? Do they hold the door open for someone? That kind of thing. So that's something to keep in mind, I think, when we're out and about and doing things, is being aware that you are constantly being evaluated by other people, in this case, and that the way you present yourself and the way that you behave and act can open or close doors with different individuals because they're doing a credit check on you constantly. Now, for some people, this might be a little bit anxiety-inducing, but I'd break it down just really simply to don't be an asshat, dress well and be reasonably polite, hold the door open for people, just little things like that, and you'll probably be okay. Now, if you want to take this to another level, I'll use an example. I've had different jobs, and during one in which when I worked in a bank, I wore a shirt and tie, occasionally a blazer too. I did stuff with like loans, not a loan officer, but like origination, checking, putting stuff into the system, and editing pre-existing loans, that kind of thing. Now, when I would go on lunch break, or if I'd run to the store really quick, I got treated differently because of how I was dressed and because of how I carried myself. That's kind of what I mean, is that because I presented myself a little bit differently than I typically did, people were willing to do a little bit more for me. If I needed help at a counter or something like that, I got it a little bit sooner, a little bit faster than I normally would have. So the way that I presented myself raised my social currency credit score. So that's something to keep in mind. Let's see. So maintaining this idea of social currency and taking it kind of down another direction. So we've gone over social currency, debt, and credit scoring. Now, for your professional purposes, if you use this kind of a mental model with different people, I think, let's say you've got a new boss or something like that, or even just your pre-existing relationships, taking a moment to stop and evaluate, how is this social currency flowing between individuals? Who helps out who? Who is that individual who's just a constant pit of resources and attention that never gives anything back? Maybe we should steer clear of that person. You're probably already aware of them. As well as just taking a moment to stop and evaluate yourself and stop and ask yourself, are you a rainmaker for other people? And what I mean by that is when you go out into the world, are you helping other people? Really, really simply, are you helping other people to improve their position? Are you just being a helpful individual? Not in a way that could have you be manipulated or abused, but just looking at your actions through this lens in the social landscape. Do you have a lot of social currency built up with people? Almost do a daily balance check at the end of the day, let's say, right? So looking back on your day and thinking about how you carried yourself and how you acted, did you build up social currency? Did you lower your social currency credit score with people by being an asshat, even if you had to be for whatever reason? Did you help other people build up their social currency, perhaps? I don't know how to explain this too well, but I'll give it my best shot, so bear with me. So, oftentimes I've found that when I help people be viewed better by other individuals. So let's say I'm with Jim, right? And I take Jim along with me to do some kind of a favor or something for, let's say, boss man or work, right? We don't have to do this kind of thing, but I'm doing him a solid because I know boss man helps me out sometimes, so I'm doing him a solid. I take Jim along with me, and I make a point of illustrating to boss man that Jim, was pretty helpful on this. Because I've increased Jim's social currency with boss man, I've increased my social currency with Jim and boss man. So if you help one person increase their social currency a little bit more, you'll typically increase yours with that person and with several other people around them. So that's something to keep in mind. And then also, people want to be around you more. People want to help you out with stuff, at least in my experience. Put down in the comments below if you have any thoughts, questions on this topic. I don't think I'll go into it too much more in depth, but if there's anything that people maybe disagree with or have a question on, maybe I need to rethink something on this. So drop it down in the comments below. I love hearing from you. And if you want to help out and support the channel, I am thinking about getting a better mic for this or some other changes in the setup that I'm looking at. Go ahead and give a Resupply coffee a try, or stock market's down as of time of recording, and it's probably going to keep going down, in my opinion. That's not investment advice, that's just my opinion. There is the link down there for WeBull as well. Really quickly on that topic, I had a subscriber who was frustrated, that I made the plugs and that kind of thing. So I just want to toss it out there that the microphone that I'm currently using was purchased as the result of someone who they'd used that WeBull link to download the app and to start investing or whatever. I don't know how far it went after that, but someone used it. I got free stock, and it wasn't a company I wanted to hold. So I sold that stock, and I then used those funds to buy this microphone. I'm thinking I might like to improve it a little bit more. Maybe there are a few other changes I can make, though. So if that's something that you think that you might be interested in using or getting, either the coffee or getting into investing through something a little better than Robinhood, go ahead and give it a try. And thank you so much for listening.